Hi there, it's Carol with Carolbcrafts. Today we'll be making project number 1 in my January 2019 Meant to Be Club Kit. Check out my website, cutstampcreateclub.com, to see what current club kits I'm offering. Now in this beautiful sampler we will be using the Meant to Be stamps and the Be Mine stitched framelits. And this is a bundle that's available in the Occasions catalog. You can also check out my website, www.carolbcrafts.com, to get a host code so that when you make a purchase, you receive 15% back in host rewards products to you from me. Now this beautiful sampler is 8x10 and it fits in an 8x10 frame. And it may appear to be more difficult than it really is. We will be using adhesive sheets to help us with a lot of the adhering, so that that makes it a lot easier for us. Now if you don't have the club kit, don't worry, I'll give you the supplies and dimensions as we go along so that you can make this beautiful sampler with us. Some of the supplies that you'll need to make the sampler, besides the Meant to Be stamps and the Be Mine stitched shapes framelits, is you'll need some snail, of course, some mini dimensionals, glue dots, some regular glue, and you'll need a lovely lipstick and Flirty Flamingo inks, light and dark Flirty Flamingo Stampin' blends, and also if you have one of the piercing tools, you'll want that. In addition, you'll need a stamp positioner, Stamparatus is what I'll be using, and you'll need a scoring tool or some sort of scoring board. So you will need an 8x10 piece of powder pink cardstock. For your Whisper White, you're going to need 2 pieces that are 3 1/4 by 8 1/2. You'll need 3 pieces that are 3 by 3 inches, and you'll need 2 of the stitched rectangle dies that are included in your kit. And the die that I used to cut those is this one right here. It is the second largest oblong stitched rectangle. You'll need some lovely lipstick cardstock, 4 by 4 inches, and you'll need a piece that is 1/2 inch by 11, and then you'll need 4 pieces that are 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. You'll need some Flirty Flamingo cardstock, 4 1/4 by 3 1/2. You'll need 3 pieces that are 3 by 3, and 1 piece that is 1 3/8 by 3 3/8. The DSP you'll need a piece that's 4 by 4, a piece that's 3 by 3, and a piece that is 3 by 3. You'll need 2 sheets of the Sizzix adhesive sheets. You'll need 18 inches of lovely lipstick, 1/8 inch gross grain ribbon. You'll need some pearl basic jewels, 1 large, 2 medium, and 8 small. So we're going to start with our stamping, and you'll need your stamp positioner. I have my Stamparatus, and I put a little bit of a 1/16 of an inch chipboard here to help with lift up my paper a little bit. So you'll need to get your 3 by 3 Whisper White pieces of cardstock, and you'll need the 2 stitched rectangles that were in your club kit. So the first thing we're going to stamp is going to be the Meant to Be, and we just want to stamp that in the center, and we're going to use the lovely lipstick ink. We'll be die cutting that, so we want to make sure we leave room for our heart die. So we ink it up with our lovely lipstick ink. And I'm going to do that one more time lightly. Okay, that's ready to die cut. We'll clean off our stamp. And next we're going to stamp You Make Me Happy, and we're going to stamp that in the center as well with lovely lipstick. And we'll clean off our stamp. Next we'll stamp this image right here on our next 3x3 piece of white, Whisper White cardstock. Now for the next stamping, you're going to need a piece of acetate so that you can put the I Love Our Life Together. Now if you have your sticker on your stamp and you want to just try to place it on there, that's fine. But I like to have a little more exactness, so I'm going to put on my window sheet, I'm going to stamp down here at the bottom, I Love Our Life Together. And I'm going to ink it up. I'm going to straighten it up just a little bit. Ink it up and stamp an image there. Now I'm going to slide this underneath my plastic so that I can line that up perfectly. I Love Our Life Together. And when I have it where I like it, I'm going to put this in place, and I'm going to remove my plastic sheet, ink up my stamp again, and stamp it. So I've cleaned off my window sheet, and I'm going to put that back in place. Switch out inks. Now I'm going to use Flirty Flamingo. I'm going to take my Happy Valentine's Day stamp and put it here towards the end of the window sheet, the 4x6 window sheet. Pick it up and ink it up, and I'm going to stamp that down. Now I'm going to take one of those rectangle die cuts that I included in your kit, and I'm going to slip it under, but I can see that I'm going to have to do a little bit more. I have a small piece of scratch paper that I'm going to put some little tiny bit of adhesive on the back to adhere it to my scratch paper, and now that will allow me to slide it underneath my window sheet without any problems. Now if you have the rectangular stitched rectangles, then you could go ahead and stamp your image and then die cut it with your die. But this is a new die and not everyone has it, so I'm including it in the club kit just for a couple more club kits, and then everyone will be expected to have this rectangle die set. Okay, so I'm going to ink up my Happy Valentine's Day. It should fit in there perfectly since I lined it up. I'm going to ink it up one more time. And we have our Happy Valentine's Day. You have an extra in case you need that. So we are done with our stamping. Now we have just a little bit of coloring to do with our light and dark flamingo, Flirty Flamingo. I like to use the brush tip for small things like this. I'm just going to start here in the center, this part right here. This is my dark Flirty Flamingo. So there seems to be like petals and leaves. All of the petals will be dark Flirty Flamingo, and the leaves will be the light Flirty Flamingo. The heart will be dark Flirty Flamingo. Now I'm going to do the leaves with the light Flirty Flamingo. So for the meant to be and the I Love Our Life Together, we're going to use the scalloped, this kind of a medium scalloped die. It's this one right here in your set. We'll go ahead and center the words and tape it down so we can run it through our Big Shot. And then I have this one is we are actually using the die that I'll have to show you. This die right here that cuts this. And I have that taped down. So I'll go ahead and cut these. Then I'll cut this one with this scalloped die. And your paper piercing tool is good for getting these pieces out here. So I'll go ahead and line this up and cut this heart out. So now I have my 2 hearts cut with the scalloped die, and then this die, we don't use this part of the white. This is actually just the center part that we're going to use, and it is going to go inside our Flirty Flamingo like that, so you can see how you're going to be using this piece. So we have some more die cutting to do. I'll put this aside since we won't be using it, but we need to put some adhesive sheets on the back of our cardstock first. So you're going to take your 6 by 12 Sizzix adhesive sheet, and you're going to cut this is an extra piece, so we'll set that aside. On your second piece of adhesive sheets, you're going to cut a piece that is 4 by 6, and then this is extra here. Now how you use these is it says peel here, and you do just that, and you want to peel it all the way off. Then you're going to take your 4 by 4 cardstock and lay it down near the edge here. And then if you want to save that for later, you can kind of just put this over it and reattach it. I have some what I call gooey scissors that I use. I can see the cardstock through there, so I'm just going to cut along the edge of the cardstock. We'll be die cutting that, so it doesn't have to be perfectly on the edge. So this is ready to die cut. It has adhesive on the back. We can throw this away. I'll save this for later. This is our 3.5 by 6 piece of adhesive sheet, and I have my 3.5 by 4.25 piece of Flirty Flamingo. I'm going to again find the little place where it says peel here, peel it off. Now it won't go this way, you want it to go on the 3.5 side. Just lay it as neatly as you can get it there. And again, if you want to save that, you can just cover it up with the sheeting. Save that for later. And if you have any overhang, if you have gooey scissors like I do, you can cut that off, and you probably will want to because it will goo up your plates on your Big Shot when you go to do the die cutting if you don't get most of that gooey off. So this is ready to die cut. Now I have a 3 by 6 piece of our adhesive sheet, and I've got 2 of my 3 by 3 pieces of Flirty Flamingo. I'm going to peel away again, get down as close to that piece there, and then I'm going to get here. Now I can die cut these together, or I can cut them separate, whichever I decide. I'm just going to die cut them together. Well, maybe I'll go ahead and cut them in half. It's your preference. So I have my 2 of my 3 by 3. Now I have one last piece of 3 by 6. I have a piece of 3 by 3 Flirty Flamingo left, and I have a piece of 3 by 3 DSP. So I'm going to pull this aside again, all the way off. Put this as close to that little non-sticky strip down there at the bottom. And then I'm going to put this right up against there like that. I'll just go ahead and trim that off. And again, these are going to be die cut, so they don't have to be, the edges don't have to be perfect. So we have our adhesive backed cardstock and DSP now for our to do our die cutting. So we're going to die cut one of these Flirty Flamingo pieces with this like filigree heart here, and we're going to cut two of them with the medium scalloped heart. It's this one right here. We're using it again, the same one we used before. We're only going to use the outside scalloped frame part, so you can use the other heart, the inside heart, for something else. So I'll go ahead and get these cut. Okay, so you can see that I have die cut two of these medium scalloped dies from two of the Flirty Flamingos, and I have cut one of the filigree hearts from one of the Flirty Flamingos. I won't be using that part, and I haven't gotten all those little pieces out yet because I'm not going to do that until I'm ready to assemble it on my card. So these two pieces of hearts that you won't be using because you'll be using the outside, you can take the smaller scalloped heart that comes from there, and you're going to just cut out one of them from one of these hearts here. So you can see that I cut one of those hearts out from one of the extra hearts. Now for the larger Flirty Flamingo, I think it's 3.5 by 4 1/4. Yes, we're going to cut this die twice. So we'll cut it near the edge here once, and then near the edge there again. And you want to take your piercing tool and get rid of those inside hearts, but you will be using one of those hearts for your project, and I'll show you here in just a second as soon as I can get this out of the die. It wants to come off the adhesive sheet there. So one of these hearts you'll need to choose to put right here under your pearl. So you can just pick one, whatever size. This one looks good right here. The rest you could use on a card because it has adhesive backing on it. Would make it really easy for you to make a card with lots of little hearts on it. Now when I put this on there, I'm running it back and forth several times in my Big Shot to make sure that it cuts all the way through. Okay, so you can see that I've cut the multi-heart die twice, and that I've reserved one of the hearts from the die cut for the project. Next we're going to take our 4x4 lovely lipstick cardstock, and we're going to die cut it with the largest scalloped die. And again, we're going to only use the outside of the die, so we can use this part to die cut some other things. We're going to die cut the rose. We're going to die cut this like little filigree part there, and we're going to cut the little I don't know, it looks like a little fleur-de-lis or whatever, fleur-de-lis. So I'm going to die cut all of those together, and this way we can save cardstock. And again, you may have to go through back and forth 2 or 3 times to get it to cut good all the way through. So you can see from this piece I've cut the outline of the scallop heart. Then from the leftover heart in the center, I've cut these 3 dies here. And then lastly, the 3x3 DSP I'm going to cut with the medium heart die, and I want the diagonals going across like this. And with this die, we're going to actually use both pieces. We're going to use the frame, scalloped frame die, and we're going to use that part of the die as well. Okay, we still have some die cutting to do. These do not have the adhesive back sheets, so these are our two pieces of Whisper White that are 3 1/4 by 8 1/2. We're going to use the largest stitched square in the Stitch Shapes framelits. If you don't have the Stitch Shapes framelits, you could make a square that is 2 5/8 by 2 5/8. So I'm going to cut 4 of these from our Whisper White. So you can see I've cut 4 of the stitched squares from the largest Stitched Shapes framelits dies. From the largest scalloped heart, I'm going to cut this DSP that's 4 by 4, and the lines will be going vertical. And with this project, we'll be using this heart, and this heart is just extra. And then lastly, we'll be cutting this medium scallop heart again with the pattern going diagonal in that direction. And for this project, we'll use this heart, and this is extra. The last die cutting we're going to do is to use this scalloped border. We're going to start here on the edge, place it against the edge, and then we're going to tape it in place. We'll do 1/2, and then we'll come back and we'll do the other half. Okay, so we have 1/2 done, and we'll remove the tape. I'm using, you could use washi tape. I'm using the removable tape by Scotch removable tape. So this part, I think I'm going to trim off just a little bit here to make it easier to work with. And now I'm going to cut the other half. And what I want to do is be sure that I line up my scallop. That last scallop needs to match the first scallop in this, and you can kind of feel it. And then once I have it matched up, I'm going to tape it in place. And I'm just going to double check that just to make sure. I probably should be taping this to the actual plate. Now I'm just going to check that because it's very important. It looks like it's off just a little bit. So I'm going to remove this tape and make sure that I have it in place. Because if you don't have it perfectly, it's going to have a, it won't match and it'll be noticeable. So I think I need to turn it this way. Be sure you get the direction that that you're actually die cutting on the same side. Okay, I think that's a good match right there. Okay, double check that. Yep, it looks acceptable. All right, so I'm going to run it through again. Move that up a little bit. I'm going to run it through again. Okay, and it looks really good. If you do have a mess up there, you can just cut another piece, 11 by 1/2 inch, and try again. Okay, so we're done with our die cutting and we're ready to start assembling our sampler. Okay, so I have my 8 by 10 piece of powder pink cardstock in portrait mode, and I have it on my scoring tool. I'm going to use the smaller of the two ends, And I'm going to score every 1/4 of an inch. So just make sure you keep your paper in place. Take your time, no rush. Okay, so I have scored a 1/4 of an inch all the way across, and that's what gives us that nice finished background look there on our sampler. Okay, so we have the hard work done. So now we're going to go ahead and open up our 8x10 frame, and you can get these at a local hobby store or any place that sells frames. So we have this open. I'm going to take this off. Now the interesting thing about the 8x10 frames that I've had is that the glass is 8x10, but the actual frame opening is not 8x10. So what we're going to have to do is I'm going to remove the glass, and be very careful not to cut yourself when you do this. And if you need to clean it, this would be a good time to clean it as well. But you're really not going to see the glass when you do it the way that I'm telling you that you're going to need to do this. So what you're going to do is, once you've removed everything, you're going to get your 10 by 8 piece of powder pink that we scored at a 1/4 of an inch to give it kind of a dimension, and the side that you scored is going to go in the front. So we'll turn this around. It's going to go here, and we can see that it's a little bit too big. So what we're going to have to do is cut this to match our glass. So I'm going to put it up against the glass and get my pencil and measure. Where's my pencil? There it is. And I'm going to measure where the end of the glass is here. And I'm going to just go off camera for a second, and I'm going to trim from there up, and I marked it on the back, so be sure you mark it on the back. So I've cut just a little bit off, and I'm going to measure it this direction. Let's see how it does. Be very careful not to cut yourself. And I can see it's just a little bit hanging off over here, so I'm going to cut a little bit off here. Okay, so I cut that little bit off, and you may have to cut more, you may have to cut less, you may not have to cut any at all. It just depends on your particular frame. So now it should go down in there perfectly. So now I'm going to put my glass behind it. Now if you wanted to do a shadow box type of frame, you could do that. Then your glass would go in the front, but this is just a regular frame. I need to remove this. Sorry, we're kind of discombobulated here. So what I want to do is this opening here, the front, which is less than 8x10, I'm going to want this to be the same width as that opening, or very close to it. So I'm just going to kind of measure with my finger. I'm not even going to measure with the pencil. I'm just going to put it there, pinch it where I think it should be, and then I'm going to trim it. And let's see how well I did. It should fit in there pretty well, and it didn't, so I'm going to have to cut off a little bit more. It's better to start out cutting less and go to more than to do more and then have cut off too much. Okay, so now it fits in there perfectly, so I'm good. Now we can go back and we can put in our cardstock. So I'm going to flip this back around to the back, scored side to the front, put that in. Now I'll put the glass in very carefully. Don't want to cut myself. Now I will put this in back in place, and you might have to struggle. It depends on your frame. I'll put my little clips back in place that hold the frame where it's supposed to be. Now this will be the bottom because it's going to sit like this unless you're going to hang it, and then you could tell you could hang it from here or here, but it's going to be landscape. So now this is our front, and this is what we're going to work with. So the first thing we want to do is put this up here at the top. Since we've already cut it to size, it should be relatively easy. Now there's a couple of things you can do. You can put your glue on the back of this in little dots along the back and then try to put it in place. I think it's easier to put your dots along the top, and you want small dots. You do want to make sure you get in the corners. So depending on how much glue you have, if you have a new glue bottle, you might want to do some practicing to make sure. All you really have to do is touch your tip to your paper or cardstock. If it's been used a little, you might have to give it just a tiny little bit of squeeze. But all you want is dots. You don't want it to run. So I'm going to put a dot in that corner there, and I'm just going to, as close as I can get to the frame without getting the frame gooey, I'm going to put little dots all along the top. And even if you do get it on your frame, you can always come back later and take it off with a pencil. All right, make sure you have the right side, the nice side facing up. Put one end in this corner here, and then alongside the frame edge, just go ahead and push it in, down, push it up to the edge of the frame and hold it in place until that glue's had a chance to dry. So this is the finished one. So the first thing we're going to do, now that we have our strip here, we're going to make our 4 corners squares. We're going to decorate those, and then we'll put them in place. So some of these squares we'll put together with glue, and some elements we'll put together with it's the adhesive backing, and then also some of it we'll put together with snail. So the first thing we'll do is use our snail. So let's just go ahead and put all of our white stitched squares onto our lovely lipstick squares. Okay, so we have all of our white stitched squares onto our lovely lipstick, and I have put these together. With the first square we're going to put together, we're going to have the heart here, this heart here, one of the small pink hearts there. Now for placement, I'm using my grid paper for this. I'm going to place the tip of this heart 1 1/4 inches from the edge. So there's 1 1/4. So that lets me know where I want to place this heart. And it happens to have some of the adhesive back on it, so we'll go ahead and remove the adhesive backing and find our 1 1/4 inch mark, and this is about where I want it, right here, and I want it at an angle, and this is where I'm going to put my other heart. Now this doesn't have any adhesive back. Well, yes it does. Sorry, I couldn't remember. This does have adhesive back, so we're going to place it in place, remove our adhesive back. I think I'll use this to kind of place it where I want it. Just wherever you think it looks nice. And then of course we have adhesive back on this little heart here. And it's going to go right about there. And then later on we're going to put a pearl there. So that's our first square. We'll go to our next square, which is we're going to put this on with glue. And then this has the adhesive backing. So I'll go ahead and take it off the backing. And if you're lucky, most of the things will be left on there. You won't have to remove them. Some of them may pop off, get in your way. So any that are left, you'll just take your piercing tool and poke them out. Then as you poke these out, some of them may stick to the back and most of them will. Just take your piercing tool or your nail and just scrape them off. Now for this one, I'm going to put the tip of the heart about 1 1/8 from the corner, and make sure that I have plenty of room for it. I'm going to put it down lightly and make sure that it's going to fit on there, and bring it up a little bit. Okay, that looks about right. So when I'm happy with it, I'll push it down. Now this is going to go on the inside of here, and we're just going to use some glue to put that into place. And rather than put the glue on the back here, we're going to put the glue on the openings. So up here in this corner, little dots again, little dots here, and that will hold it in place. Be sure you get down here and wherever the edges might flip up. And then you're going to, so you've got your glue there, you're going to put this down on top and just hold it in place until your glue dries. Okay, we have our second heart. Now the next heart is going to actually be going in this direction, and we're going to have this and this and this. Now I found it easier to put this down first, and again it's going to be about 1 1/8 from the edge. This is, and it's going to be here. So go ahead and take my backing off, and it's important that it doesn't get misshapen, so it might be easier to use your piercing tool to kind of put it in place. So I'm going to look for that about a 1/8 of an inch, this time from the other side. And when I feel like that's a good place for it, I'm going to put it down. And now I'm going to put this on with some glue. And again, I'm going to put my glue on the inside. Small dots. Don't really need a lot. Okay, and then this has adhesive backing on it as well, so we'll remove the adhesive backing from it. And again, I'll just use my piercing tool to put that in place. Push it down with my finger. Okay, so now we have our third heart, and we'll be putting a rhinestone here, or a pearl, I'm sorry, not a rhinestone. And then our last heart, we'll be doing the same thing. We'll be removing the backing from the back of the heart, and we're going to measure about 1 1/8 from the edge and put our heart in place. Next we'll put our I Love Our Life Together, and it's going to put that on with some glue. It fits right in there, right nicely. Now our fourth square is done. So we're going to bring in our frame. We're ready to put these in place. These are going to go about 1/8 of an inch from top and bottom. This would be 1/8 of an inch from the edge of your decoration there, your scalloped border. These are going to go here, and we'll go ahead and place these down even though they're not ready to adhere yet, just to get an idea of where they're going to go. These are going to go here. We'll go ahead and put our Happy Valentine's Day, make a little space for you here, and we'll go ahead and put that on our Flirty Flamingo rectangle. So we'll go ahead and put some adhesive on there. And that's just going to go down here. And these lines will help you kind of make it straight, so you have it straight. Now this is going to go up here. Again, find a line. We might bring these down a little bit. This is why we kind of do a placement before we actually put them in place, glue them in place, because we want to make sure that everything goes where it's supposed to. We'll need to leave room for our bow there. Our big heart's going to be about right here, maybe a little lower, because we do want our bow there. And this will be our meant to be here. And then this little rose is going to kind of go up here on top of that there, and so that's what we'll have. So now we kind of get an idea where we can place our squares and make sure everything fits. So we'll go ahead and put our squares in place, and we're going to do that. I'm going to use glue because adhesive can sometimes give way in certain climates, and glue will not. So we'll go ahead and put some glue on the back. Make sure you get close to the corners. Not too close to the edges. Alright, so we know that we're going to want this kind of right here. Yep, that looks good right there. Now we'll go ahead and do this one. Go ahead and put glue on the back of it. So I have my glue. Now I'm going to put this one in the same distance and everything as that one, as much as possible. So let me turn it around. That's another good thing about the glue, is it gives you a little wiggle room. And we'll go ahead and put this down. Okay, I have glue on the back of my Happy Valentine's Day. I'm going to just kind of figure out where I want that. Center it between them. Use the lines to help you get it straight. Press it in place. Alright, so now we're going to do these at the top, same way. We're going to put some glue on them. Okay, I have my glue, and now I'm going to flip it around and I'm going to put it in place. Hold it in place until it dries. Very good. Now I'm going to do this one. Okay, we'll put this one in place. And hold it in place until it dries. Okay, so we're going to kind of move this heart off. We just put it there for placement purposes. So now we're going to put these hearts in place, and we'll remove the backing from them. So I've got the backing off of that. Now I'm just going to put it in between here, not too close to the edge. And it likes to stick to your fingers, so that's all right. And then when you have it where you like it, just press it down really good. And you can even take your and press it. Now there's a few little strands of fuzz or fibers, so I'm just going to take a brush and sweep those off. Remove these. Turn it upside down. Okay, that looks a lot better. Okay, and then we'll do the other side. Same thing, we'll remove the backing. Okay, I've got the backing off of that. And now I'm just going to place this one in the center, not too close to the edge, and across. Push it down really good. And use my brush again. Alright, we're moving right along. Next, we'll put this in place, and it has backing on it. It has adhesive backing, so we'll just remove that. And we'll put this in place up here. I'll turn it around so it's closer to get. I'm going to use this line right here to help me put it in place. Before I push it down, I'm going to make sure that it's centered. And level. Okay, now we are ready to do our heart, our big heart, but we want to make sure that we leave room for our bow. Now we don't have our bow yet, so just kind of, I would say this is probably going to be the size of your bow, so that will give you an idea of where you need to put your heart. So we'll take the backing off of this. Now it's important not to lose your shape of your heart, and it will try to lose its shape if you let it stick to you very much. So I'm going to try to adhere it here. And make sure this is in the center. And then just lay it down. And move it over if you need to. That looks good, so I'm going to push that down. This we're going to put on with mini dimensionals. Well, actually, I'll tell you what, let's put our mini dimensionals on the inside here. It's a little different way of doing it. And that way we can put our dimensionals inside those hearts, not too close to the edge though. Okay, do you think I have enough? Alright, we'll remove the backing. Just make sure you have all the backings off, and it looks like I do. So now we're going to put our heart in place. This is going to go next, and it has the adhesive backing, so we'll go ahead and remove that. And we're just going to put this in place, kind of in the center. Again, we're going to glue this on the inside, so we'll use some glue to put on the inside here. Use some small dots, and then just lay this in place like so. Now we're ready to put this on, and it will go with the leaves This is a little bit of a rosebud here. That's going to go to your left. And wherever you think that that looks good, however you like it. I like it kind of like that at an angle. It's kind of hiding part of this heart here. But wherever you like it, that's where you should put it. Let's see, on this one it looks like it's a little bit lower, so maybe I should put it a little lower. And I should be able to just lift it up, put it a little bit lower. Like so. I'll push that down good. So we have 2 medium of the basic pearls, and then 1 large, and then 8 small. So we'll do the small ones first. There's 1 here, and that flower right there. There's 1 here inside this center of this heart right there. There's 1 here in the center of this right there, and then this one is going to go in the center of this little flowery thing right there. Right there. Now we will put some more down here, but we'll put our medium ones in first. So we'll put a medium one up here at the top. There's kind of like 3 little leaves there. You're going to put it at the base of those 3 little leaves. And then this one, the other medium, is going to go down here, kind of even with the happy, and a little bit over to the corner like this. And then the rest of our little ones, we'll put a small one here at the base of these 3 little petals here on the end, and 1 at the base of the other little petal over here on the end. Then 2 down here, kind of at an angle, just for balance mostly. And then our large one is going to go in the center of our rose. Like right there. Okay, so we're going to make our bow, and this is going to be a little different from what bows you've usually made. So you're going to take your thumb and your middle finger, and you're going to put about 3/4 of an inch from the middle finger. You're going to put your thumb down and hold this in place. And you're going to bring this one up, your index finger over. These guys get tucked under. They stay out of the way. So you're going to bring it over the index finger. Be sure you keep it flat. And there's about a 1/2 inch between our fingers. So we brought it around once. We're going to bring it around a second time. So now we're going to take this end and push it through here. Right there. You see how that is? And then we're going to bring that end around, and we're going to bring it around and put it through our loop from the back there. And then you're going to pull it as tightly as possible towards you. And then you have your bow. Just pull it off your fingers like so. Have to be kind of gentle about it. And then you have your double bow. Just kind of separate them, because if they stick together, that's fine. Just kind of pull them apart. Straighten it up a little bit. pull your ends down. And now you have your bow. And it's ready to go on your project. So if you need to adjust your bow, you can adjust it just however you need to do it, just like you normally adjust a bow. So we'll take some glue dots and we're going to put it on the back. I'm just going to use a couple on the very back of that knot. And then might be easier to use this. Going to just center it above the heart. I think it looks better if it's a little bit closer to the heart and not perfectly in the center. Be careful not to tear your paper if you have to move it. I think that looks good. Now the tails of the bow, you want to keep them a little bit longer, and you want to put a nice little edge on there. Okay, well, we're done with project number 1 in our Meant to Be January Club Kit. Check out my website, www.cutstampcreateclub.com, to see what current club kit I'm offering. Thanks for watching. Bye now.